guys, it's Ash from the Awakened State. Today we're starting a new series officially called Conversations with Soul. So I want to talk a little bit about what Conversations with Soul is, as this is the first official video, and then we're going to dive right in. So Conversations with Soul is where you can personally ask me questions and I will give you a channeled from Soul answer. So one thing I really want to talk about is questions. So the power of a question. Questions, I believe, are catalysts that open us to our subconscious mind. This is really cool because when we ask ourselves empowered questions, our brain starts working like a calculator to figure them out. And I've been doing Q&As for a very, very long time. And the power of questions opens up our mind so that we are anchoring into higher truth. So I invite you, even try it at home. Ask yourself your own empowered question and just see what happens. So Conversations with Soul is me channeling from Soul intuitively a question that I have you guys ask me. This is something I have been doing since Tumblr days, and I was just like, oh my God, we got to do this on video. This would be so fun. So basically, our first Conversations with Soul asks, and I literally just wrote it on a random piece of paper because I'm so organized like that, is I'd like to learn more about the subconscious reprogramming because I still have some repeating patterns coming up and I don't know where they come from or how I could release them. And this question came from Instagram. And that's the other thing is you can submit your questions on Instagram in my instant message box, or you could do Facebook, or even just drop them down below on the comments. Okay, so our question, what is subconscious reprogramming? And this person also said, I still have some repeating patterns coming up, and I don't know where they're coming from or how I can even start to release them. So I think to answer this question, the first thing that really comes through is we need to talk about subconscious reprogramming and what it actually is. And we're going to do it in the very practical Ashley Awakened State way, where we have to realize that subconscious reprogramming isn't as like crazy and weird and like super intense as you think. It's really about learning to change the mind. Now, the reason why subconscious reprogramming is so powerful is we first have to understand that why do we have programming? And this all goes back to really asking ourselves, where do our habits, our patterns, our daily habits and patterns and emotional triggers, where do they come from? Well, way back as you were born, and you were trying to be a human and you were learning to be a human, about 0 to age 7, you basically started becoming this absorbing sponge where you were training to be human. So in a very weird way, we have to realize that we grew up thinking all of these thoughts and habits through our conditioned patterns that we developed and modeled from our parents growing up. So we have certain habits and patterns and emotional triggers exactly because of that. So I like to look at it like this. So when you were growing up, your parents had a fight about money or something. And so your little childlike mind registers that and goes, oh, so that's how money works. And then so you put that in your money bucket, which is your root chakra bucket, and that becomes a stored belief. And then so as you grow, then you have another belief about, creativity and your emotions and how emotions respond. And then you put that in the sacral bucket. And then you have this element of how to understand self-esteem and confidence, and that becomes that belief in your solar plexus bucket, and you start to develop these patterns and habits, and these eventually compound and become your beliefs. So are you with me so far? Okay, so basically this is like the short version, is we're a sponge, we soak up all this information from our parents, that becomes lodged in all of our chakra buckets. And when we have these emotions and like emotional triggers surface, we're basically hitting up on that old belief, and we're hitting up on those old patterns. And I like to think of it as we have to realize that our programming came from our ancestors. And one thing that's really beautiful about understanding Kundalini awakening is I believe that part of our purpose here is to break the old programming. It's to break the ancestral line, because we have to realize beliefs are learned. Like, we have certain habits and beliefs and reactive patterns because we learned them over time, and then they became normal, and it became part of our paradigm for how we do things in life. So I truly believe that we have to realize that our parents really gave us like this inauthentic programming for how we do things in the world. And not everything is bad, not everything is terrible. We also learned a lot of good things too, like how to be a human, and how to ride a bike, and make sure you don't touch that hot stove. Like, we've learned various things, and not all of it's bad. But the things that I'm really talking about are, the limited beliefs that really hold you back, and like the pattern, like the bad habits, the patterns that you are in, like an emotional wound, are all generated from inauthentic vibrations that you picked up from your parents, and they picked it up from their parents, and they picked it up from their parents, and we see and we see and we see, and it's like, woo, that's a lot of generational programming. So basically, that's the ancestral line. And once you understand the ancestral line, now you realize that this is just learned beliefs, habits, and patterns that I soaked up as a child, and it is my choice to learn that I can change them. I can learn to subconsciously reprogram them. So the reason that we have certain patterns and certain habits are from our caregivers and our parents. And it's not their fault. They didn't know this information. I'm sure many of them didn't. And we have to really realize that our parents did the best they could. They did the best they could with what they have learned, what they have been taught, what experiences they have had. And I believe that a really beautiful piece of understanding Kundalini awakening is we're learning how to essentially rewire the mind and create the new paradigm with new beliefs, habits, thoughts, patterns of higher truth. What is higher truth? Higher truth is higher consciousness, the true reality. It's literally a higher vibration that we are bringing into our bodies, and it's in alignment. It's in the energy of our pure, authentic self. And we are just geeking out right here. But basically, we have all these inauthentic vibrations, and these are the judgments, the opinions, the habits, the really bad reactive triggers that we get, like, those ones where we have a lot of jealousy out of nowhere, or where we get snappy out of nowhere, or maybe we get angry over silly things. All of that stuff, that is inauthentic vibrations due to our past programming. And I love that this person asked, I don't know where they come from or how I can release them. Because this is the hugest thing we must understand about subconscious reprogramming is it's inauthentic vibrations. It's basically distortions from who we truly are. So if they're inauthentic vibrations, yes, they are a part of us. Yes, they are a part of our identity, but they're also an illusion of separation. They're an illusion of understanding our true self, our authentic self, the person who is beyond the judgment, beyond the opinions, beyond the ego, the identity, and understanding underneath all of that resistance is our authentic self. So the number one way to understand subconscious reprogramming is it's about learning to change your identity, change your habits, and ultimately about learning to change your perspective. So it's about changing your identity, changing your habits, and changing your perspective. And that all begins with changing your mind. But one thing I really want to strongly emphasize is these are learned patterns. These are learned habits. And so a lot of us go through life completely oblivious. And, that's when they say you're asleep. And it's really about understanding that we've created all these reactive habits and patterns. So what do I mean by reactive habits and patterns? I mean fear-based reactive habits. You do certain things when you're in fear. You do certain things when you're in fight or flight mode. And this is a huge thing to address right now, especially as we've been going through a pandemic and a lot more people are traumatized, a lot more people are suddenly triggered, a lot more people are anxious and afraid, or they're getting caught up in fight or flight mode. Like, that's what it's all about, is we have certain behaviors when we're in fear. It's super fascinating to me because, there's a habit that goes behind when like you're suddenly stressed out and you immediately reach for the ice cream. There's something going on when you're like in fear and you're immediately checking out. Like, you're completely just like, I need to escape. I got to binge Netflix for 5 hours. I have to do all of these things to just avoid reality now. These are called fight or flight mode. And that's a really rough translation of what fight or flight mode is. So what does fight or flight mode have to do with subconscious reprogramming? We cannot change anything until we bring a reactive habit into a conscious awareness. So the beginning step of subconscious reprogramming is to first ask yourself, what is your habits and patterns when you're triggered by fear? And start to bring awareness to those habits and patterns, because this will start to show you where you're getting tripped up. Are you going into fight mode? Are you just angry and snappy at people? Are you in flight mode? Are you just checking out for the evening and you're just completely gone? Or are you in freeze mode? You're just stuck. You're just completely you're in that place of inaction where you're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. And you're just so caught up in your head that you're just like frozen. You're not letting yourself do anything. You're just going to be like, I'm just going to sit here. Oh no. And you're just in this place where you're just frozen. We all have different reactive habits and patterns, but I think the easiest way to truly understand them is to understand what's going on first. We have to bring awareness to our reactive habits. That's the only way we can truly change things. We have to start at the base. We have to start at the root and look at what the hell is going on. Like, where am I falling into these reactive habits? And how can I begin to question my own resistance? It's about learning to bring those reactive habits into conscious awareness. This is a big core piece of what I teach in all of my programs. But what I really want to strongly emphasize here is it's that beginning step of making sure that you get out of autopilot and get into conscious awareness. So I think the real question here is, how do you do that? Well, it's about getting more mindful and embodied. So I'm going to give you a really easy way to just simply get embodied. You have to get present with yourself. So when you are stuck in a reactive habit, in a reactive pattern, the best thing you can ever do is drop back into your body. So we can do this very, very easily. We can do this through unplugging, where we just completely, we ignore technology for the day, and we're dead center, we're present, we're aware, we're mindfully eating. We're no longer in this place of like where we're constantly staring at phones, we're constantly doing this, we're constantly doing this. What happens when we really unplug is we're allowing ourselves to stop absorbing all these different frequencies that are like constantly in our orbit, I guess you could say. And when we do that, we're snapping ourselves back into the present moment. So that's one way. Another way we can get into a conscious place is by more mindfulness, like more mindful eating, more mindful when we're just like in our meditation practice, more mindful walking. Like, I think the hugest culprit is just making sure you put that phone down more often, because that will help you get back into your body. And it really does help. But the other thing is movement. When we're really stuck in our head, the best thing we can do for ourselves is move. We need to be present. We need to get in our bodies. We need to be aware of our surroundings. Like, I was just having a conversation with my son. He was freaking out about something. And I'm like, okay, you have to get grounded in your body right now. What do you see around you? What are how can you focus on the details right now? Like, what do you see around you, and how can you bring yourself back to the moment? And when we do that, what we're actually doing is we're training our mind to start connecting with our reality, because this is the hugest piece to understand. When we're reactive and we're really caught up in our heads, we are disembodied. So it's almost as if we're dissociated from our body. We're not tuned into our body. And when we're not tuned into our body, we are like, we're like spinning our wheels. I always like to say it's like you're spinning your chakras and you're overcompensating, but nothing's actually going on, because you're just so caught up in your head that like the energy has like nowhere to travel. So what that really means is it's like you can either spin in circles, or you can get in your body and really have that, like, I'm focusing on the details of my life. I'm moving around my house. I'm choosing to take a walk. I'm getting in touch with my body, because now you're aware. And once you're aware, now we can start to question things. It's hard to question things when we're still in a reactive place, because we will start to go on autopilot. We will be really reactive emotionally and we'll be triggered. So the biggest thing we can do is learn to snap back into our body. So a lot of people, they call this grounding, but sometimes people, they explain grounding so weird to me. Like, I don't believe that we really get in our bodies when we're just visualizing ourselves as a tree and like we're way over here in outer space, like pretending we're a tree. I don't think that's really about getting grounded. I think getting grounded is being in your body. And I know that sounds like a really simple answer, but you will be surprised that when you find yourself in a reactive pattern or habit and you're falling into fear left, right, and center, the best thing you can do is get present. Because when we're present, we're fully in alignment with who we truly are. I hope that helps. So the first step, let's just do like a brief summary. So the first step is learning to change your identity. And the second step is learn to change your habits and learn to change your perspective. And ultimately, how we learn to release those old programming is we have to bring reactive patterns into conscious awareness. And then that leads to the fun stuff, where we learn how to empower those beliefs. We learn how to shift those beliefs. We learn how to reframe those beliefs. And then we start to begin to change the story we're telling with our reality. This is some of the most powerful work I love, love, love to talk on. I love this question, by the way. And right now, I currently have a 21-day challenge called the Alignment Reset. And you start to see how we can really bring all of this together into understanding our authentic self is us moving into alignment, learning how to shift our perspective, learning more mindfulness, learning energy management, where we're really learning about that awareness piece so we can tune into our body, tune into our habits, tune into really just getting clear with our masculine and our feminine energy and be in that flow in alignment where things get easier as we choose to really cultivate our authentic self, our authentic higher truth, and move in this energy of releasing that resistance, releasing the fear mind, releasing our fear-based patterns. And so this is what the new challenge talks about in immense detail. I would love to go on and on and on with this video, but just to let you know that this challenge is going to talk about the beginning elements of learning how to subconsciously reprogram your mind, shift your perspective, change your identity, and truly move back into alignment with who you are. So I had so much fun with this first Conversations of Soul. If you have your own question to submit, I would love to hear from you. Just share them below in the comments or on Instagram, or just hit me up on Facebook Messenger. It's a new thing I'm doing. I would love to hear if you have any comments or questions about subconscious reprogramming. Please leave them below and I will gladly answer you. All right, I think we are good. I hope you deeply enjoyed this. I love you guys.